that's listening to the session, so I engage kind of under some understanding of who's out there. Yeah, just me. Okay, no problem. What I'll do then, some of these bits I missed because obviously you were here for the last session. So very quickly, you know all about me, where I'm from, etc. We'll skip that bit. But basically, how today is going to differ from the last session is it's going to be a lot more of those resources that people were asking about, and a lot more kind of a lot more teaching ideas based around this idea of a checklist outstanding. So in other words, I'm going to go through basically a checklist that we could use to kind of get outstanding, and then hopefully around that checklist kind of, bring out some resources and share with you some resources. The last bit is where I'm going to talk about how we can develop kind of a culture both inside and outside in terms of this culture around outstanding. So hopefully it's going to be a lot more kind of resources, a lot more teaching ideas today. And if you've got any questions at any time about anything that I say, again, just give us a type in the box and I'll be able to answer it straight away. Ultimately, the idea is that hopefully by the end of today's session you'll go with lots of things from both today and previously that will allow you to basically get outstanding, but ultimately stay there and repeat this outstanding time and time again. Okay then, so what we'll do is we'll move along. So just a quick refresher from the last session is basically what is outstanding and what does it look like. And you can probably remember this picture that we looked at last session, that was based around the kind of key things that we should see in an outstanding PE lesson. So we've got the exceptional, we've got pupils, we've got skills, learning, activities, but ultimately we've got to make sure that it's PE, so that everything has a purpose, everything links into physical education rather than just activity or education, etc. As you remember, I also talked about how important that kind of culture is in kind of building success and not kind of treated as a one-off. Ultimately, anybody could do a one-off session, which is going to be outstanding. But if we want to generate high quality outcomes, then a one-off outstanding isn't going to achieve those outcomes. So it needs to be repeated over and over again. And if we can develop that culture, then not only can we achieve outstanding, but we can stay there and make it easier to reach outstanding over and over again. One of the approaches that I have done to help me do this in my own lessons is basically develop a checklist for outstanding, and that's there. I call it my outstanding taxonomy. Why? Well, basically it was linked in with my teaching and learning role within the faculty and also as a whole school role, and it basically was one of the resources that formed the basis of our school learning taxonomy. Ultimately, to develop outstanding PE practice, across the whole department. Okay, so we're all singing from the same hymn sheet type of thing, but also as well kind of my own personal checklist, so that I know what I need to fit into lessons. I know what I need to focus on in each lesson in order to try and get those high quality, those outstanding outcomes. And what I'm going to do is literally go through each of these letters, okay, and each of these key points, and hopefully share some resources with you, okay, about what I've used that have come out as outstanding. Firstly, just this key thing again, because I do really think it's key. It's not all about the resource. Yes, you're going to see lots of them, but ultimately it's the outcome that's more important. And for me, this is a big thing, especially when we look at CPD and especially when we look at teach and learn ideas. People often think, oh, if I just take that idea and apply it to my group, it'll have the same effect. Well, it won't. It'll be completely different. It may achieve some of the outcomes, but ultimately, what we're trying to do is making sure that we either take that, copy it, and adapt it in order to develop our own outcomes for our own groups. So what I'm going to do now is just basically go through that outstanding taxonomy, highlighting some ideas, and if you want to type any questions as we go, please do so. So the first thing that we're going to focus on is this idea of focus objectives. And it sounds silly, but obviously objectives are key. You know, they drive the lesson, they give the lesson a purpose. But at the same time, I think it's one part of the teaching, maybe especially in PE and possibly other subjects, I don't know, where we often overlook it. We often kind of, you know, neglect the objectives a little bit in focus of other things. But I think really for me, the more focused these objectives are, the more clearer they are, then ultimately the more chance the pupils are going to achieve well and, you know, come out with a good outcome. So first of all, let's look at some examples here. So this is a theory lesson, GCSE PE. Okay, and basically it just makes all of the objectives really focused on the level that the pupils are working at. So all we've done is basically develop the knowledge and understanding. So we've said that's basically a grade C skill. So if they can develop knowledge and if they have an understanding of the two types of training, they can use that in an exam. The likelihood is they're going to input, you know, enough kind of key points to get maybe a C grade answer. Obviously, we want to increase it higher. So the second key points are to apply their knowledge to this type of training. So ultimately, the application of knowledge is going to give them the higher grade. And I use these at the start of every theory lesson, whether it be A-level, GCSE, BTEC or whatever. But also what I do is on each PowerPoint, each worksheet, each question, I make sure that that objective is also evident as well. So that at any point in the lesson, each pupil knows exactly what level they're working at, why they're doing it, and what purpose it's got. You know, and hopefully it will also allow you to split the lesson or break the lesson down into clear, concise parts in order to focus on each individual type of level. Doesn't just work in theory though, it can work in practical as well. So here's a practical example from basketball, but rather obviously than grades, what we've now got is levels. So again, what we're saying is level 4, that's going to be pretty much your main skills or your key skills within the activities and the sport. And then if you can put that into a game situation, then you're going to hit hopefully that level 5 as well. So again, the pupils know exactly what level they're working at which part of the lesson, and when it comes to check progression, you know, they can see exactly how much progress they've made just by using those objectives. It also works really well for those pupils, obviously, when they know their target grade, they know exactly kind of which level they're working at, which area of the lesson they need to focus on, and what they really need to develop in order to hit that target grade. So it acts as a bit of a motivation factor as well for them.